So now that we're finished the play, it's time to start doing some real assignments here. So first of all, this assignment that I'm about to give you is meant to be a replacement for the Macbeth test that we were going to do after March break, right? So this is sort of a test that's not really a test, right? So I understand that a lot of you have a lot of responsibilities that are competing with this class, right? This is a very difficult time for everyone. So I don't mean for this test to be very overwhelming, right? So before we even start talking about it, let me just stress the due date is next Monday, April 20th, right? So you have until then to email me your answers to these questions, and hopefully it won't be too overwhelming. So let's go through it and talk about what exactly the assignment is going to be. So, first of all, there are 6 questions here, right? The way this is going to work is that you will pick 3 of the following questions and you will answer them during the course of this week in paragraph format, right? So similar to the very first assignments you gave, right? So each of these answers will be in paragraph format. So what I hope to emphasize is that spelling and grammar will count. I hope you will have time to check over your spelling and grammar. I haven't been very picky at all. In fact, I have pretty much ignored all of the spelling and grammar issues that you guys have emailed me in the daily Q&A threads. But for these paragraphs, they're a bit more formal. This is a test, so, check your spelling and everything like that before you send in any paragraph. So, what are the questions? So let's go through them. So, first question, who is the one person most responsible for the death of Duncan? Macbeth, the witches, Lady Macbeth, or someone else entirely? So, this question, we've talked about this one in class. A lot of you have given me answers already, right? So, that's fine. But the question here is who's most responsible, right? As in, pick one person. So when you answer this question, I don't want you to say all of them, right? I don't want you to say it was Macbeth, the witches, and Lady Macbeth, right? I want you to pick one person and say, this is the person who's most responsible for Macbeth's murder, right? That's the person we need to send to jail, okay? So just one of them, not everyone. All right, so that question, I hope, is pretty straightforward. Second question, consider the entire whole play, right? I should just have whole play there. Let me fix that. By the time you guys see it, it'll be fixed. So consider the whole play. Should we say that Lady Macbeth is an evil monster, right? So basically, I'm asking, is Lady Macbeth a horrible, awful human being? So when you answer that, I want you to consider not just the parts where she's saying, let's go kill Duncan, it's going to be fun, it's going to be easy, go be a man, kill Duncan. I want you to also think about what happens to her when she ends up killing herself, right? So the fact that she kills herself is sort of something I want you to think about. So if your answer is just, yes, Lady Macbeth is a monster, she made Macbeth kill Duncan, therefore she's a monster, right? If that's your answer, I'm going to say there's more to it than that, because you need to, in your answer, consider Act 5 of the play when you answer that question. Then there's number 3. Was Macbeth's doom something that he could not possibly have avoided, i.e. predetermined, or was it the result of his own choices, i.e. his free will? Right, so this is looking at one of the central parts of the play, right? Sort of looking at the idea of predeterminism versus free will. So, was Macbeth doomed from the beginning? Was it all just because of this prophecy that the witches had, that all of this stuff was going to happen? Or was what happened the result of his own free will and his own choices, right? So we talked about this in class back when we still had a classroom, right? We talked about that idea of free will versus predeterminism. So this question would be your chance to answer that question. Then we have number 4. Macbeth starts out being very guilty, or feeling, I should put, I'm correcting this in real time, feeling very guilty for the murder of Duncan, but then steadily kills more and more people without feeling any guilt at all. What causes this transformation in him, right? So we talked about this last week a bit, about how he changes as he goes along, right? And how he sort of starts to kill more and more people, and it gets easier and easier. We talked a little bit about that speech, the eternal jewel, right? That he's given to the common enemy of man, right? His soul given to the devil. So this question would be your opportunity to discuss that at length, right? So that would be an interesting question for that reason. Then you have number 5, discuss the character of Macduff and his motivations in the play. Is he a hero? Why or why not? So this question is for all those Macduff fans out there. If you're a big fan of Macduff and want to talk about the things going on with him, with losing his family and everything like that, then this Macduff question, well, that one's for you, right? So if you think Macduff is a big hero, then this question should be easy for you. Then you got number 6. Is the ending of the play happy? Why or why not? Right? So I talked about this at the end of last video. You know, at the end of the play, you've got a head, right, being thrown around. At the end of the play, is that a happy ending for you guys, or is it something else, right? So if you think the ending was happy, you tell me why, and if you don't think it was happy, you tell me why not. So, again, 3 of these questions are to be answered, right? And you're going to be answering each of them in a single paragraph, right? Similar to a short answer that you would have done in test, right? So this is, again, meant to substitute for the quotations test. Now, in terms of what your answers are supposed to look like, they're just meant to be a basic paragraph, right? So I've written an example right here. Let's take a look at what I did. So I gave my example question: is Macbeth an evil man, or is he just manipulated into doing evil by the witches, right? So I give an answer here. Macbeth was a good and proud man who wished to provide everything he could for his family, but was driven into an evil situation by the witches. Okay, so that's my topic sentence, right? Do I need to do that again? Yeah, I won't do that again, just in case you guys have forgotten. So the topic sentence, that's your first sentence, and it is supposed to, this should give me your answer to the question, right? So in that first topic sentence, I should absolutely have your answer to the question, right? So if you're doing, you know, was Macbeth's doom something that he could have avoided, or was it a result of his own choices, right? I should know right away which side you're on in that first sentence, right? That's the key. You always have to have a topic sentence. So Macbeth was a good and proud man who wished to provide everything he could for his family, but who was driven into an evil situation by the witches. So it's clear from my first sentence that I am taking that position. After that, we go through the argument with evidence, just like we normally do, right? So over here, when Macbeth first receives the prophecy of the witches, he is reluctant to take action and does not mean to kill Duncan. However, when his wife, Lady Macbeth, reminds him of the duties he has to his family, saying, quote, "I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you have done to this." Now, when you are writing these paragraphs, I want you to quote, right? Just like I did here, right? Just a short quote. Don't go crazy with the quotes. Don't think, oh, I have to quote 4 or 5 times. 1 or 2 quotes is just fine, right? And quoting works for Shakespeare in just the same way as it does for anything else, right? But the only thing is, your citation for it is going to just come right after, right? And you'll notice over here, I have 1:59 to 64, right? And you might wonder, well, what are those numbers? Well, it's very simple, right? If I have 1:59 to 64, right, then that is Act 1, Scene 1, lines 59 to 64, right? So I don't put the page number for Shakespeare, because Shakespeare's special, right? You write about the verse. You don't write about the page number, right? So in order to find that... Oh, wait, that's not 1154, nor 64. Oops, I made a mistake. Hold on, let me change that. So, as I was saying, Act 1, Scene 7, Scene 60, line 60 to 64, the way you find this information is very simple, right? So find whatever quote you want, and then which act is it? Well, it says right there at the top, Act 1, and then which scene? Scene 7, and then which line? Well, it's right here at the side, right? So when you quote, that's how you're going to quote for Shakespeare, right? This is the special way you use to quote Shakespeare. It's similar also to the way you quote the Bible, by the way. When you quote the Bible, you go John 3:16 or whatever it is. So that's how you quote Shakespeare, right? So you just use these line numbers on the side in order to find the line, right? So don't put the page number, by the way. You'd only put act, scene, and line. Anyway, so you quote, right? And don't go crazy with the quotes, but I've got one quote here. And then I go on. This makes Macbeth's tone change, for he begins to think about the kind of future that he wants for the family he wants to build with Lady Macbeth. Like many parents, Macbeth wants his children to grow up rich and privileged, and he's willing to take any risk to make that happen. He is thus acting very naturally when he kills Duncan in order to guarantee that future. If anyone was being evil here, it was indeed just the witches, for they are the ones who knew very well that in presenting Macbeth with this option would lead him to shed blood and kill. Macbeth's only intention was to build a family and build a legacy, and his later actions against Banquo were just an attempt to protect his family. The witch's intention, that should be intentions, were, because there's more than one witch, to cause chaos and disruption. Thus, without the witches to mislead him, Macbeth would have continued to be a good person, and he would not have gone down the dark path he embarked on. Right? So it's got a topic sentence for starters right here. Let me highlight that just like I do in class. And then over here are my supporting sentences, right? Where I am essentially trying to prove that I am right. By the way, I will include a link to this document with the email, right? And also on the website. So if you're looking at this video and saying, I want to look at that paragraph closely, then just look in the email or on the website. So anyway, topic sentence is your first sentence, and then supporting sentences are the simple, why do you think your position is true, right? So, you know, what's your evidence? And again, you should use quotes, right? I definitely want to see at least one or maybe two. Don't go overboard. Right, and then finally, at the end, you have a concluding sentence which just wraps it up and lets you restate the topic sentence, right? So, for my position here, I'm saying Macbeth is the one who has done who's not the one who's done something wrong. It's all the witch's fault. So that's how you put together a answer to this. Oh, by the way, don't use my stuff, right? I don't want to hear anyone saying anything like this in their answer about whose fault is it that Duncan killed. I just realized it's sort of similar. But nevertheless, that's what your answers are going to look like for this particular reflection assignment, all right? So remember, you're picking 3 of these questions, and you're doing this 3 times, right? And you have until Monday, next Monday, to do it, right? So hopefully that's enough time. If you need more time, just say so, and I'll give it to you. But that's what this assignment is all about. So feel free to email me any questions you have about this, right? This is sort of the big assignment we're going to do, and I will answer those questions for you tomorrow, right? Because I do need a little bit of time to do other things tonight, right? So, and plus, I should give you guys more time. So, if you have any questions, right, ask them, and I will answer them tomorrow morning, and we will hopefully be able to put these 3 paragraphs together without too much trouble. All right? So, again, my goal is for this to be a relatively painless assignment, right? It's meant to be about as hard as the Macbeth quotations test was going to be, right? So you're not being, given anything more difficult than that, right? It's supposed to be about equal. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And good luck, guys. I'm for sure it will be okay. And I am here to help if you need any of that help. So I hope you're having a very good Wednesday, and we will talk soon.